In this video, I'm going to demonstrate roughs. There are really two purposes in doing roughs. The first is you don't always know whether or not your thumbnail idea is going to transition correctly and effectively into Photoshop. So instead of spending a lot of time doing fine detailed Photoshop work to figure that out, we want to do quick, down and dirty, rough composites in Photoshop. That will help us see whether or not our thumbnail concept will transition into Photoshop effectively. If it does after the rough, then we can go ahead and create a much more high resolution, finely detailed composite. Another reason to do roughs is that often graphic designers work with stock photography. Stock photography costs money, and so you don't want to go purchase stock photography without knowing that you're actually going to use it. A stock photography company I use and will be using in this class is called Shutterstock, shutterstock.com. They work like any other stock photography by giving you a search engine. You type in keywords and you see some resulting imagery. I'm going to type in motorcycle. You'll see here I get responses based upon my search keyword, and I get images, photos, illustrations. If I want to filter some of those out, there's a filter section and I can click on there and decide on different kinds of filters. For example, in this case, I'm going to choose photos. Now I've limited the search results to photo. As I go through these and scan these, I might see a variety of images that I think I may want to use. What I'll do is I'll choose them and download them. I'll keep downloading any image here that I think I might use. I don't try to dial into that perfect image yet because I really don't know, so I want to get a lot of different options. Now when I say I download these images, I'm not really downloading the high resolution versions, I'm downloading low resolution versions, and they are going to be watermarked. If I want this image right here, for example, I click on it. Shutterstock shows me this example, and I'll click here, and you'll notice that I get a larger version watermarked image. It is this image that I'll right-click and choose Save. In this case, I'll save the image to the desktop, and now I've saved this watermarked image to my desktop. I haven't bought it or purchased it. Shutterstock allows me to use these watermarked images in my rough designs. They want me to use them in my rough designs because eventually they're going to want me to buy the image. Now, in my rough design, when I'm using the watermarked images, once I get client approval, then I go back and buy the high resolution images for my final artwork. And of course, I charge the client for those high resolution images. I'm going to go back to Photoshop here, and you'll notice just for an example, I'm choosing Open, and I'm going to navigate to my desktop, and there is that stock photo I downloaded, and I'll hit the Open, and now you can see that I can take this and use it in my design if I choose to. I'm not going to do that with this particular image, but that's really the technique. So typically what I will do is when I'm working with my thumbnail, I'll then go to Shutterstock and I'll download a ton of images, these watermarked images that I might want to use, and then I'll compose them. So that's what I did in this particular assignment. You'll notice if you download the demo files that there is a folder called Demo Roughs Cheesy Writer, and in that folder is low resolution stock images, and you'll see these are all the different stock photos that are watermarked that I downloaded. Some of these I use, some of these I don't. And you'll notice that in the completed rough design, I've got various images and they're all watermarked. Now, not only am I using low resolution images and watermarked images, but I'm not spending a lot of time selecting them. I just want to get a rough idea. So if you were to zoom in, for example, on the motorcycle, and you'll see that there are a lot of spots where there's some rough selections. You can see all around the wheel, you've got the halo, there's some white right there. There's some whiteness in the middle there. You'll notice the edges of the mouse here, all very roughly selected. So what I'll do is I'll use whatever tools I can use that will quickly give me the selections I want. I will not go into the select and mask mode. I'm just getting quick selections, copying them, and pasting them, and organizing my rough. And I'm not creating smart objects either, because I don't really care about that. I just want to get this thing done quickly, but visually effectively. Does that make sense? Just to give you a quick example, let's say I wanted to put the mouse and the helmet together. So I'm going to open those images. I've got to find it first. There's the helmet, so I'll open the helmet. And then I'm going to open the mouse. There's the mouse. And now I'm going to put them together. So the first thing I want to do is I want to quickly select the mouse. Now, one of the tools I'm going to use almost all the time is the quick selection tool. I'll just quickly select the mouse, and maybe I'll zoom in just a bit and dial down the brush size a little bit so I can get the tail and get the feet. And I don't worry about if it's capturing the whiteness in the middle there. I don't really care. All I want to do is get a rough selection. Now I'm going to hold down the Option key, and I am going to delete some of this in here because I don't want that much influence, and it's pretty easy to do this. So this is getting close enough. So I'm going to zoom out. There's my selection. I copy it. I go to my sample here and I paste it. And let me move it so that you can see it. There it is. And you'll notice it comes in small. Well, that's because it's low resolution. Also, no big deal because I'm just doing a rough. So in this particular case, I can make it larger. And I'm going to rotate a little bit. And there you go. And I'm going to name my layer mouse. And I'm going to go back to this helmet and do the same sort of thing. Do a quick selection. Once I've got it, Command C, Command V, move that over here, Command T, resize it, rotate it, position it. As you can see, I put those two together pretty quickly. If I was to do this whole thing, then all I would be doing is going and grabbing the cheese and grabbing the road and grabbing the motorcycle and putting it all together in a very quick, rough sort of way. It should not take you more than about 15 minutes. Maybe since we're just first starting out, it does. But after you've gotten used to this process, you really don't want to take more than about 15 minutes to put together a rough. One thing I want to point out is that it's important to have the text in your rough. You'll notice I have the headline text, and at the bottom I have some dummy paragraph text. That text, that typography, is also a part of the design. It's an important part of the design. So in your rough, you want to make sure you consider it and work with it. Consider typography style, consider color, consider size, consider placement. Make all of those decisions in the rough, because if you don't make those decisions in the rough, it's going to be really hard if you run into trouble when you're doing the final design. I'm not going to complete this rough design for you. I think you get the idea. If you want to complete it, feel free to do so. There is a rough assignment, so get at it and have fun.